Oh man, this one's okay, well, I had a little size to him. How's it going, folks? So in this episode of Fishing with B-Bass, we're going to talk about the Zoom trick worm and how many different ways you can fish this one amazing worm right here. Hopefully you guys enjoy this video all about the Zoom trick worm. Let's go. Now, throughout this whole video, I'm going to be fishing this color right here. This is the original Zoom trick worm. I'm going to be fishing this worm in Watermelon Magic, my favorite color. Like, this color is amazing. So let's keep going. First way I'm fishing it right now is drop shot. All right, so let's go over all three of these rigging, how I like to rig it. I'll show you what line and stuff I like to use with it. Now, the first one, let's go over the drop shot. How I like to fish the Zoom trick worm on a drop shot. Just like you're fishing a regular drop shot, but instead of using a size 2 drop shot hook, I like using a size 1/0 worm hook. And I like these little straight ones right here. I mean, honestly, you can use any 1/0 worm hook, but you got to make sure it's a 1/0 because you've got a little bit more worm in it. You've got a little bit more worm on the hook. So trying to use a drop shot hook, just get the head right here. I don't like that. I want at least a good amount of the worm on the hook right here. You still got a lot of tail action right there. Now, since this worm is a little bit heavier and it wants to float, I'm going to use a size 3/16 ounce little slip weight right there. The setup I'm using for the drop shot is 8-pound Strand fluorocarbon spinning reel, and then the rod is a 7/6 medium action rod. The spinning reel is a Lady Triton Fluger spinning reel, and then the rod is a Shimano 7/6 rod. There he is. There we go. Keep that rod tip up. There we go. There we go. Got a little fatty on the drop shot trick worm. Now, another good thing about fishing this drop shot is the worm's just a little bit bigger. So a little bit bigger fish get enticed to it. But you'll still catch small fish, but the worm's just a little bit longer. So the bigger fish get a little more enticed than just a really tiny little drop shot. But this 1/0 hook works great on this. I haven't missed one fish yet on this hook. So at least on you, buddy. For the Nico rig and the weighted wacky rig, I like using a size 1/0 because the bait is a little bit bigger. And all you do is do a simple Palomar knot just to tie the hook on there because I'm using fluorocarbon. And I'll show you something special about this rod and reel. Let me tell you about this rod and reel setup right here. I have another one that's set up the exact same way, but it's just a different spinning reel. Now on the spool right here, I have 20-pound Stren braid connected to a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. And I have probably about 15 to 20 foot of line, a fluorocarbon line on this reel. So I don't have to retie. If I do need to clip off a drop shot or any of that stuff, I still have a good amount of line. Fishing deeper and deeper water, if I'm fishing probably deeper than 12 foot, I'm going to use that and use that barrel swivel because it really helps with line twist a lot. But if I'm just fishing a regular old pond, for the sake, I'm going to use this setup right here. And the setup is 20-pound braid connected to a 10-pound fluorocarbon leader. Now it's about 15 to 20 foot of extra fluorocarbon line on here. And then the rod and reel is, this is an Abu Garcia Aura S30, one of my favorite spinning reels. It was like 80 bucks, I think. So again, not super expensive, but it gets the job done and I love it. It's really fast too. It's a 5/8 to 1 gear ratio reel, so it's a little bit faster. And then again, the rod is a 7/6 Shimano medium action rod. But any of these setups for fishing in this video, you can use straight fluorocarbon, 6, 8, 10 pound at max. I'm going to show you one last thing for the weighted wacky rig that I like to do. Do this in a sneaky way, but take an old wire clothes hanger, get some wire snips, and cut the wire into different lengths to make it to where it's different weights. I'll show you why. Now let's talk about the weighted wacky rig, how I like to fish it. It seems really simple. It's just something completely different than the fish have seen. In the water, instead of falling like a regular wacky rig, it's got a little weight in the head, so it's gonna fall at a slight angle, just like that. It's gonna fall at a very slight angle like that. Underwater footage I'll show it. So, the way I like to rig this is, first, take the piece of clothes hanger, you want it a little bit smaller. This is fairly small. I'll probably snip off just a little bit more just to make the weight a little less. And then I feed it into under the head right here. Feed it right in the worm. Pushing it all the way in. Making sure it's completely exposed in the worm. So all I did was see this right here, put that little piece of clothes hanger in there. Now, I take my hook, find the bulge of the trick worm, and then I put it right on the other side of that bulge. So here's the bulge right here. I put it on the other side of the bulge. And then I'll kind of play around with it. Each weight's just a little bit different. So I'll play with where the hook set is, where the hook is in the worm to make sure I get that nice gliding motion. What I like to do with a weighted wacky rig is throw it out, cast it out. Always like to feather a little extra line because you're fishing this on very super slack line because you want that bait to have that action of falling sideways. It's the whole main reason of weighting that front side like that, so it glides down. So I feather a little bit extra line, and then once I feel like it's hit the bottom, depending on how deep the water is, I'll give it 2 pops. You can either pop it 2 times or you can just lift your rod tip up, but I like to pop it 1, 2. Always leave that little extra slack line in there to feather kind of go down, and then wait another 5, 6 seconds depending on how deep the water was, and then pop it again. Leave that little slack in your line. If you see that line jump, make sure you set the hook. Now, wacky rigs don't have the greatest hookup ratio. As you can tell with this weighted wacky rig, I'm not using an O-ring because I want to make sure I get them right in the roof of the mouth or the side of the mouth. There we go. Yeah! There we go. Caught it on the weighted wacky rig. Yo, man. Ugh. This is the weighted wacky rig I've been fishing this. weighted wacky rig. So that is a really pretty fish right there. So let me get the release on this guy. Now, let's talk about the Nico rig. Is how I've got this trick worm right here set up. This Zoom trick worm. We got all this extra grass off for you. For this Nico rig, I like using these a little bit heavier nail weights. You can also use those pieces of the hangers. You can use the pieces of hangers just fine. Just make sure it's a little bit heavier one, and it works the exact same way. I mean, this right here will work just fine on this rig, but I like using the nail weights right here. But so I take my take the weight, push it in the head of the worm, make sure it disappears in there. Some people like to bite off the head of the worm. That's completely up to you. So it really doesn't matter to me. All right, so I've got the weight in the head of the worm. Now I'm going to take the worm. Again, find where the bulge in the worm is. The centerpiece right here. It's a jointed piece. And I'm going to put my hook right above it. Feather in just a little bit. That's all I've done so far, is put it in just like that. And now pull it back out the worm. Just like that. That is the basic Nico rig. Now let me show how I like to work it. So all you do, cast it out. Now this rig, you're fishing on a tight line, so let it sink to the bottom. And again, this is how I like to fish the Nico rig. Some people might fish it a different way. There's a couple different retrieves I use. There's one, just hop it right off the bottom. So, kind of like the drop shot. I don't want to take that weight of the worm off the bottom, so I'm going to use just very slightly, very little pops on it, so it gets that little dancing action going. Or another retrieve I like to use is cast it out. Kind of like fishing the weighted wacky rig, and then 2 pops, let it sink back down. 2 pops, let it sink back down, and then 2 pops, let it sink back down. 2 quick little pops. That worm sinks right to the bottom, so when you do those little pops, it shoots right back down to the bottom. And 2 little pops, and then again. So, you know, play with the retrieves, see what works for you. This is probably the most versatile worm that I like to fish, because I can fish it in so many ways. Also, you can fish it as a shaky head, or just a regular wacky rig. You can fish it just like that. But these are my most productive rigs that how I fish the trick worm. This is the Nico rig, the weighted wacky rig where it glides down, and then the drop shot. But drop shot is my most deadly of all 3 of these rigs right here. Okay. The Zoom trick worm on a Nico rig works amazing. So let me get the release on this guy. The drawing video of the 600 subscriber giveaway is coming. I've got to do it probably before next week. Before next week ends, when I go to Atlanta. I might do it in Atlanta, I don't know. Whenever an idea hits me is when I'll do it. So I'm going to do that drawing sometime in the next couple weeks, and then I got to mail out the boxes and stuff. Just to kind of help me save money. The tournament's next week, so it'll be maybe early to mid-May before I get the boxes shipped out to you guys, whoever wins. And that's gonna be a fun video to make, because my last drawing video I climbed my butt up in a tree, and that was a lot of fun. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you have not yet, because there's gonna be a lot more fishing videos to come. So next time, I will see you, but soon. I'm gonna continue fishing. Have a good day.